Hello everyone! Today we are gonna talk about Catasetum orchids. Catasetums are probably one of my most favorite orchids because a lot of the varieties out in the market have a very sweet fragrance and they're not as hard to take care of as most people would think, and it's very rewarding when you get them to bloom for you. Catasetums actually have a very unique feature in that in one plant you can actually have two different kinds of flower. They have both the male and the female flowers. This is what the female flower looks like. They're usually in green and they look like a hooded flower, while the male flower is very large and they're very colorful and they have a sweet scent. A lot of new orchid growers are intimidated by catasetums because they're not familiar with the growing phase and the dormant phase and what to do in between those phases. So that's why I'm making this video, so we can teach you the what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, so that by the end of this video you'll be more confident in taking care of your beautiful catasetum orchids. So this is what the growing phase of a catasetum looks like. During this growing phase, you have to water very good and fertilize frequently because the catasetums need to store as much nutrients as they can in the growing bulbs to prepare them for their dormant season. As you can see here, this catasetum has a lot of lush green leaves during their growing phase, and they need very bright indirect sun, more so than cattleyas, because they only have a very short time, only spring and summer, to fully mature and develop. You can see here the leafless bulbs from last year's growing season, and you should not detach them and throw them away. They're still carrying nutrients for the plant, and that will help them get through the dormant season. Once the bulbs are fully mature and fully developed, the leaves will turn yellow and drop. A lot of new orchid growers start to panic at this stage because they see yellowing leaves and they see that the plant is slowly dropping its leaves and they think that the plant is dying. You should remember that this is part of their cycle and it's perfectly normal for catasetums at this stage. At this point, you should lessen the water to maybe once a week because the bulbs are fully mature now. A good reminder is not to repot at this stage because the roots of the catasetum has stopped growing at this point, and if you repot it into a bigger pot, it will only harm the plant. And this is what catasetums look like during their dormant phase. As you can see here, all of the bulbs has lost its leaves completely, and at this time, watering should be stopped completely. You should only water the plant during this dormant season if the bulbs are shriveling and drying up. As you can see here, even if the bulbs has no leaves, they're still very healthy because they're giving us flowers. During this dormant phase, the roots of the catasetum should be completely dry because the catasetum has stopped growing at this point and the roots are not sucking up as much water as they used to. Because of this, the roots are prone to bacteria and fungus if you leave them moist for a very long time. Some orchid growers like to bare root the plant at the beginning of their dormant period and place them in an empty clay pot during its dormancy. This way, the catasetum can be watered along with all the other orchids in the collection, and the roots will be dried out completely each time and prevent rotting. First thing to do is sterilize your scissors by using an open flame or dipping them into an alcohol solution, and that will help prevent bacterial transfer. The best time to repot or divide the plant is during springtime at the beginning of their growing season. Since the roots are actively growing at springtime, the Catasetum will experience very minimal setback from repotting or dividing. If you want to divide the plant, I would suggest at least 2 growing bulbs per division. Some new orchid growers are a bit hesitant about dividing the plant, and I can assure you that Catasetum orchids are very hardy. They are not as delicate as some people think, and dividing the plant is actually good for them. As you can see here, I just did a little cut and the division came apart really easily. I try to preserve as much of the roots as I can, but it's totally fine if some of the roots get cut off because, like I said, it's springtime and they're in their growing phase, so the roots are actively growing at this point. I like to use sphagnum moss for catasetums because, like I said earlier, the roots like to stay moist all the time during their growing phase. You can also use orchid bark if you prefer, but you will have to water them very frequently during their growing phase. Place the plant into the pot with the bulb just sitting on top of the moss. Make sure that the moss is nice and tight and there should be no chance for the bulb to get uprooted. Label your new division and water them 2 to 3 times per week during the growing season and place them in bright indirect sunlight. And there you have it. That is how I propagate and take care of my Catasetum orchids. If you have any questions, just comment below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.